Let's go.
Welcome to Citizen. Today we have a very special guest, and when I say special, I mean special.
I was going to say, do you say that about everybody you
I
have?
do.
Today we have that. We have to say that. We've been doing this for over 1,000 episodes.
Yeah.
Today we have the specialist of guests.
Yeah.
Is it special or is it just who agreed to come on?
Well, I only allow special people to come on the show in the first place.
That is true. Which is why I've been delayed.
Jared Taylor. Yeah, it took you a while to get special. I don't know what the requirements are exactly, but
You had to protect the dignity of the show.
well, I'm on it, so I don't know that that's a concern because I have very little, if any, dignity to speak of.
What's the point of dignity anyway?
I think dignity is to protect your own insecurity, right?
I believe so.
Dignity is an inward feeling about how other people feel about you. I'm not sure that's necessarily a good thing to entertain, right?
No, I think we should do away with it.
Yeah, outlaw dignity.
Burn the books. Put that on
2024. That's
Put that on a list.
Well, we're both on lists, a variety of lists already. I don't know if we need to.
We're
make
on
more.
plenty of lists.
Yeah. So the purpose of this show is, well, I guess the synopsis, if I had to do an elevator pitch, is that you can either bitch and moan about your rights and wait around for somebody else or some group to secure them for you, and you will be a subject to those people because they get to define what your rights are and how they're exercised, or you secure your own rights and then you're a citizen. That's why I named it that.
Yeah, kind of like the premise behind, I will go with the book, Starship Troopers.
Yeah.
Where you were not born with rights, you had to earn them.
Yeah, I've been in a Twitter spat about that today, actually, with some...
With whom?
Some I think her name is the Redheaded Libertarian or something like that.
Oh, God. She's, I think there's a YouTube channel about this, right?
I'm sure there is, but it's always funny and ironic to me that pretty much anybody with the word liberty or libertarian in their name has no idea what either mean.
No concept
you know what I mean?
of liberty.
So she went on this long diatribe about the 19th Amendment, which was what allowed women to vote, and how it kind of went downhill from there because of overrepresentation of people who don't necessarily contribute economically. And it kind of harkens back to the origin of voting in America, which was from 1789 until 1870 or so. You had to be a land-owning person. You had to own land. And in and of itself, that isn't necessarily the worst thing I've ever heard of, because having stake in the game to get a vote is something I agree with you on the Starship
No, like you're
Trooper
saying,
thing.
Economically, you're saying that someone that has never actually paid a tax had to pay into taxes. Someone that has always their whole life, especially in our generation. So our generation has experienced this, so they don't have a clear view of it.
Yeah.
If you've done nothing but receive a tax return, yet your vote is equal to somebody that's paying 10x, 100x, a million x to that. You're saying that's unfair.
Sure, yeah. And it is to some degree. I agree with the premise that you should have stake in the game, right? But I don't think property ownership can't be the solution, and here's why. Because you and I as property owners could leverage our authority as voters against people who are not property owners to prevent them from ever becoming property owners.
Yes.
And that is completely unacceptable. Meaning we could set the barrier to entry super high for property ownership, or we could set property taxes, for example. These are just a couple of examples why it won't work. We could set property taxes prohibitively high, so people, even if they did manage to get into the property owner class, would get expelled from it soon. And then you've created a de facto aristocracy, right? Yeah. You can't do that. But civic service, not necessarily military service, but civic service of some sort as a prerequisite for voting, I'm into that.
100%.
Because you can start that in high school at like age 14, 15, or 16, and by the time they're 18, you've actually contributed to America.
Multiple lanes that you were able to become a citizen. Yeah. I think a good issue that you could use as an example for this is the whole college forgiveness thing. So okay, you've got students that are out of college, not finding good work, that are in a ton of college debt,
right,
voting for the United States government to completely wipe out that debt?
It's a good question. And here it is. Here's the question in plain language. Does it serve the country? Does it serve the betterment of all human beings inside of this country for people to vote on their very disparate own self-interest? I'm not sure that is a good idea.
Not at all. Because again, you're voting for something that only affects you in a positive manner, not for something that is going to take away from somebody else. Because again, this isn't magic. You don't vote for it and then all of a sudden it disappears in thin air.
Right.
Something has to be sacrificed for that entire thing to be paid for. And it comes down to, well, why did we allow colleges to become the businesses that they were, in essence, of raising these prices for things that aren't necessarily useful for the society, and then charging insane amounts for them? And again, like where does some of this stuff come from? It's almost as if like a college is a business, but we treat it under the education system, and it follows a different set of rules. Which why?
But well, it's a good question. I mean, what you're pointing out is why public institutions don't work, because there's no competition that maintains price security, right? So if we only had privately run education institutions, and particularly in secondary education, then those who did so, just from some background data, the average college professor salary relative to inflation has gone up about 30% in the last 30 or 40 years.
Yeah, but what is the average college tuition?
Right. The average admin cost for colleges has gone up 2,000%.
Okay, see, there's the problem.
Like DEI and therapists and fucking middle managers and all this stupid shit. The reason that Facebook has laid off 25% of their workforce in the last 4 months is that it's like all this superfluous nonsense. In the private market, if all these institutions were private, then parents especially, but even the kids who sign up for these loans would, and the banks who secure the loans too, because they don't want defaulted loans. Yeah. Even though you can insure them with like Lloyd's of London and shit like that, you don't want those defaulted loans. All of these market mechanisms would work against predatory lending and predatory pricing in the industry. That's the whole reason that it exists, right? But when you take that out and you have publicly backed loans, now you're in fucking trouble. Because the government wants to appear to succeed, and it'll spend whatever amount of money it needs to spend to appear to succeed, because it's a bad luck to not succeed. And you're subsidizing incompetence at that point. And that's what the American education system is.
No, I've never taken out a student loan. Does the bank require like your history?
You're 18 years old. What history do you have?
Yeah, I mean, grades, things like that. Like, does the bank require grades for a student loan?
No.
Okay, so
well, that's not true. Sometimes they do require. I've seen some loans that in the second, third, and fourth year of the loan, to keep getting tranche, that you have to maintain a certain GPA or something.
Yes, if I'm loaning somebody money, specifically a child, I'm going to want to know, like, is this person going to pass college and go on to secure a job, or is this just a fuck all?
Yeah, but it's a mirror of the banking industry in America. They know they're not going to fail because the government won't allow it, right? Yeah. So in public education, they will take your loan and the bank will secure the loan for you, the same way that we went about handing out subprime mortgages throughout the early 2000s, right? Which is to say, we're going to get our money either way. It's either going to be from a federal bailout or from the user. So fuck it. Why not?
Yeah,
right?
We'll just say yes to everybody.
Yeah.
So what was her argument
then? That's the argument that, one, the 19th Amendment allowed women to vote. So she's making a case against that, because a lot of people at the time, most women at the time were not working.
So she's making a case against women voting.
Right. And it's like just hot take Twitter bullshit is what it really is. But then, you know,
Somebody
of course,
wants to get some traffic.
yeah, it's a female, so people are simping for her and her stupid ideas. I'm just like, no, that's dumb, dude. Are you fucking serious? We have 100 years of economic research that shows that the economic empowerment of women, which is to say 51% of most populations, is generally speaking a boon for any economy. And of course it is, right? You have double the production.
You just doubled
now.
the workforce.
Yeah. But people see all these other ancillary negative actions going on, reduction of liberty, a dumber, more ambivalent or complacent voting class as somehow evidence that we should reduce the amount of people that vote, never making the suggestion that we should improve the voter. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's dumb. It doesn't make any sense.
Or improve the messaging to the voters.
Sure, yeah.
Like, there's a lot of, you know, this is where our adversaries have gotten really smart and learned how to utilize our very own Constitution against us by saying, oh, wait, they've got the First Amendment over there. We could use that against them. Yeah. Like, we can pay for propaganda. We can pay for articles to be written and put out and published. Like, I don't think a lion's share of people understand that like, when you're reading something.
Well, Yuri Bezmenov was pretty clear about how this was all going to happen in an interview he did in the fucking early 1980s. You know what I mean? He's a former KGB officer, intelligence officer, and he was like, just went through the process of how.
He's like, here's how we're going to do it.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the first and most important step is to eliminate national pride. That's the first step. Make people either not proud generally or embarrassed to be part of a certain organization, and then they won't, instead of acting in the best interest of the organization and those people, they'll act in the best interest of whatever faddish cause du jour is going on right now. I support the current thing, and that's kind of where we are politically right now. Not just on the left, by the way. No. The right's the same way. They'll jump. Remember, like, just in-group, out-group bullshit, and people will attach themselves to whatever dumbass cause is going on at the time. And look, it is, there's some nobility to that effort. It's a good thing that people feel compelled to do something, or at least say something, or feel a certain way. That's good. That's a good thing to have.
But I think social media has poisoned it, because what it's done is it makes it disingenuous. Sure, people are announcing a charge of some sort of position just for the sake of jumping on the bandwagon.
Yeah, and you get all of the praise and dopamine and social status without actually having done
anything.
Yeah,
other than, I just put a Ukrainian flag and I posted a Ukrainian flag, and now I've got all the engagement going on from both sides, and whatever side I chose, I get to team up with the crowd, the 50% that are backing me, and we all get to hate the other 50% that are against me. And this is our position, despite the fact that I have done zero research, zero dove into no information or data about the situation.
Yeah,
I just decided it because my favorite celebrity said it first.
Yeah, well, two things on that. One, having a favorite politician is like rooting for the fucking umpire. It doesn't make any sense. That's not a team to vote for, to root for, rather. The second thing is, it must be, for these people that engage in that kind of facile bullshit, it must be extremely demoralizing, because from their perspective, they feel like they're doing a lot, right? But they're not actually doing anything. And as such, there are no results because nothing's getting done. So you can imagine, we've all been in situations like this, whether it's the military or our workplace or whatever, where we feel like we're doing a lot, but nothing's getting done. It's super demoralizing. But people don't realize that the reason is because they're not actually doing anything. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you're super concerned about the plight of black people in urban areas in America, especially if you're a person of wealth or privilege, take your wealth and privilege there and help them start businesses so they can emancipate themselves from the Democratic Party, who's been dangling just enough money to get by over their heads for the last 60 years. You know what I mean? Like, that's a good way to do that. But instead, let's just put fucking BLM, #BLM.
Yeah, no, that's all I need to do. I just got to wear the t-shirt. I got to wear the hat.
Like, when I see business owners or finance people with that shit going on, I'm like, dude, how many businesses have you, how many times have you gone into the black neighborhoods in America that are struggling with this stuff, or the coal mining neighborhoods that are getting ripped apart in Ohio and West Virginia right now, and said, hey, you know what? Your industry is kind of fucked right now, but here, you guys clearly have some skills. Let's turn these skills into some kind of new business, and here's the money and planning to do it. How many of them have done that? The answer is zero, yeah. Not one, right? And that would be a really interesting thing to happen, because I haven't seen anything like that before. The closest thing I guess I've seen is probably LeBron James building all those schools in inner cities. But, you know, that's only one step, because while you can get $150,000 to go to college from any bank in America, try as an 18-year-old to have a business idea and find $150,000 in capital to start your fucking business.
Not happening.
It's not, and there's a 0% chance you're getting that unless it's from a family or friend, family member or friend. And what the fuck? That's how we roll in America. There's a saying, solve problems, don't get out the vote. Right? It's like, there's no money in the cure. It's the same thing, right? We do this in every institution we have in this country. We try to turn
keep everything at 70%.
We try to turn people's pain into an industry, but the industry can only persist if the pain never stops. Yeah. You know what I mean? How fucked up is that?
It's really fucked up. I mean, it's the other side though of the position of trying to say that anything was perfect, trying to say that capitalism was perfect. No, there are incredible shortfalls of capitalism.
Anytime there's a human being involved, there's going to be a shortfall, exactly. Right? It's just the way it is. But that doesn't mean you throw the baby out with the bathwater. You find a way to solve the problems, right? That's what we do here in America specifically, is we solve problems. Well, we did.
Yeah, but we used to. I mean, you just look at, you know, I feel like the technology strides that we made from the 40s to the 60s were incredible, because
it was just will and effort
and risk.
Yeah, while stealing a bunch of German Nazis was pretty risky, I guess. Yeah, I mean, that's a risk.
I'm talking about, like, we weren't afraid to fail.
Oh yeah,
like we were in a race and we wanted to win, so we were taking risks. Where now everyone is. I mean, I heard yesterday that 175 isn't marching in the St. Patty's Day parade in Savannah. Why? Because, there's just too much risk.
What's the risk? It's a bunch of fucking Rangers.
Knows. Who knows what?
By the way, that's been happening since the 1970s.
It's just, it shows how weak our military leaders have become. Because there is no longer a backbone that's just like, no, we're gonna do that.
Let me ask you this, and I don't even mean this rhetorically. I'm genuinely asking. Do you think it's that they don't have a backbone, or do you think that the mission priority has changed and they're because honestly, I think as a military leader, it does take some backbone to do some stupid, like, gay ass shit like that, to be weak in public. To seem weak in public as a military commander, I think you're risking a lot by doing that, even if it's just your own pride. You know what I mean? Yeah. So if the mission priority is safetyism, which is to say risk mitigation to like a pathological level, which is what we're seeing in the military now, then they're just doing what they're being told to do.
Yeah, but I've also seen a direct reduction in leaders' ability to be stern and firm.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like, there is almost on a daily basis, I have to ask people the question, yeah, but are you right? Well, yeah, I'm right. Well, then why wouldn't you stay on this? Why would you just roll over when the one ring above you tells you no?
Yeah, your job.
You're right.
Your job as a leader should be to find other leaders at your level who are on the same page as you, and in unity deliver that message upward. That's your job, right? Not to just be a lone voice. Don't be angry old man shouting at the clouds.
Yeah.
But gain a consensus, have a conversation with the other battalion commanders, the other brigade commanders, the other division commanders, whatever it is, and say, hey, what we're doing right now is not working. Here's why. We need to go talk to these people about it. Because if 4 generals walk into your room and start making a point, you're not going to say no. I don't care how bullheaded of a fucking president.
Exactly. That's what I mean. But
yeah.
that's where we lack.
Yeah.
We lack in the fact that they don't want to sell their case. They don't want to show their work. They don't want to say, hey, this is going to make us weak. This is going to make us fail. We cannot play these games.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we, at the end of the day, are the defense of this country. There is no gray area.
Yeah, I wonder what
we have careerists. You've got
it's politics, right? I mean, how do you I don't know how you deal with that. I mean, our political system is kind of fucked, so maybe it just trickles down. But it used to be that the military was kind of the last bastion of meritocracy. You know what I mean?
Of do what is right.
Yeah, because if you don't, then people die.
Yes.
Now we just blame other things for the deaths instead of
plug our ears and pretend it didn't happen.
Yeah, like the
Afghan pullout.
The 13 people that died in Afghanistan.
Yeah, that is just completely.
We had 2 different. One, we had a sniper team on that dude. And 2, even before that, tier 1 operators were tracking that dude fucking 2 miles away.
But we're told
we asked for an airstrike and they said no. And then we asked to fucking shoot the guy and they said no. And I think it was
everybody said they didn't know who could make that call.
Anybody can make that call.
You should have just made the call.
Yeah, he should have shot him, right?
You know what? I'm good. Yeah, but then the sad part is then we would be watching his trial right now because we don't have any leaders with fucking backbone anymore. And you know what? The one that stood up and said, hey, you guys are kind of fucked up and you're not being held accountable. Like, they've fucking pushed out real quick.
Yeah, they weren't thrilled about him. And, so the Marine Corps guy, what was his name? Brad Whited, Lieutenant Colonel Brad Whited, is just, here's what he did, right? And I've heard this from multiple sources. He got the question from the staff sergeant, scout sniper, can I engage? And he said, I don't know, I'll check. And then he fucking never checked. Or if he did, he never got back to the guy, and then 13 Americans died. And in the same time, the other battalion commander who was on scene is Timothy Kleisner from the 82nd, 1st Brigade, 82nd. He doesn't like me because I keep calling him out in public.
Great.
I'm not sure what the fuck his plan is.
Yeah.
Exactly, because I don't report to you, bitch.
Then fucking get on a microphone and show your work, bud.
Yeah.
Like, what are you calling him out for?
So when Tim Kennedy and a bunch of other people, private contractors at the time, although Tim is still in the National Guard, but he was a private contractor, at least for the sake of this conversation, was cruising in and out of HKIA with Afghan personnel that had worked for the U.S. military. And we had a very complex mechanism for identifying who these people were. Triple blind, right? So you had to identify yourself, you had to have paperwork from somebody legit, and then you had to meet in a specific location that was delivered through secure comms. So triple blind, three rung. This is how it's done in the intelligence community. Triple blind, right? The people that were being let through by the conventional forces on the base, who the fuck knows who they were? No fucking clue.
They didn't have a list.
But Tim and his team, it wasn't just Tim. Tim wasn't even the leader of this shit. He just had to be the most famous person there. Yeah. So forget about Tim. But the guys who were driving in, I guess Kleisner was embarrassed by how incompetent he was.
Yeah.
And got mad that somebody was showing him up. Right. That's really what it was.
I hate people like that.
Yeah. It's like if somebody shows up and you're trying to accomplish a mission and they're doing it better than you, then just start doing what they're doing. Yeah. Like, hey, dude, can you open up these comms channels so we can clear this crowd out a little bit and find more people that we need to talk to? Because everybody in the Middle East has a cell phone. As a matter of fact, I think everybody in the Middle East may have had a phone before everybody in America did. You remember Iraq and between
2007?
Well, even the first one when you were in 2005 in Mosul, which is the middle of goddamn nowhere. You know what I mean? There were more people.
There wasn't
there
as many
as
there was with 07.
07 everybody.
Boom, yeah.
Everybody had a phone and everybody had porn on their phone. Interestingly enough. But yeah, it's like a good leader, a good commander will see the success of his subordinates or ancillary components and fold that into his mission or her mission, whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? That's how leadership works.
Oh no, it's changed. Now it's all about me.
How is that supposed to be successful?
Well, it wasn't successful And 13 people died.
Right, but even this is by no means an isolated incident, but that is a very specific incident. But even more broadly speaking, across the force.
Yeah, but the fact that they're like, how much have we had to fucking hear of the January 6th committee? Where's the fucking HKIA committee?
Yeah, it's you would think it's coming.
Where is he? And you know what? This goes to the top because we can't put all the blame on our fucking mid-tier commanders.
Yeah.
They are trying to fill, heal bullet holes with. They've got nothing but sand.
Yeah, I mean, to Kleisner and the 82nd's credit, there, they were deployed as the DRF-1, which just that is a contingency.
Yeah,
that is not a standard deployment rotation. No. That's a breaking case of emergency.
We need 3,000 people.
A bunch of psychos. And baggy pants and fucking maroon berets are coming to kill people. That's what that is. It's not like, hey, we're going to go secure this compound while people exfil. You know what I mean? And we didn't even do a legit airfield seizure. But yeah, I mean, to your point, all the stuff that led up to that, which is holding the Taliban accountable. The fact
look at even something like Waco. You've got multiple agencies with their hands in the pie, all demanding that they're in charge and you got to listen to them. And this was like, Waco times 1,000,000.
Oh yeah,
because you had every agency, the CIA, the DEA,
state
the DIA,
ran the whole fucking thing too.
Anytime
the State Department is in charge of something, it's fucked from the beginning, right? Because that's all they do. They
fuck it up.
Yeah, they think that they have like special powers or some shit to predict the future. Like, here's our execution plan, and then it's going to produce this result. The State Department hasn't been right about anything in a long ass time. You know what I mean? The last time, think about like the hostage crises we've had over the years. 79, we couldn't get our students out of Iran. You know who got them out? Jesse fucking Jackson got them out. And it was only to embarrass the president. It's the only reason they even agreed to it. You know what I mean? The State Department couldn't do anything. The battlefield preparation, they did it in Iraq, where they sent State Department guys, since we couldn't fly in from Turkey. Turkey wouldn't allow us to use their airspace. They sent State Department dicks up there to do battlefield preparation in the northern part of the country. And how friendly were they into crit to U.S. forces when we came in? Like, what?
No, sir.
They wanted to send people in to prep the battlefield in a city where Saddam Hussein grew up. What was the big plan there, bud? You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand. There's not enough. You can't spend enough money in the world to fix that problem.
Oh, man.
It's very bizarre to me.
Yeah.
So here's something. People seem to think that leadership, especially these days, and it's weak leadership, you've seen it in the military as much as I have, is giving orders and punishing disobedience and even rewarding obedience. But that's just the tip of the iceberg, in my opinion. It's like the real crux of leadership is holding yourself to the same standard as everybody else, right?
Yeah.
Task condition standard is completely irrespective of rank or privilege. This is the task. Here are the conditions under which you have to perform that task. Here's the standard to which you will perform it. That's why when you go to Ranger School, they take your rank off. You know what I mean?
Especially now in the information age that we're in. Like, you no longer can expect to be a good leader if you are not showing that you're held to the exact same standard and doing the exact same thing, because people we're just too far in the future now. It's no longer, I'm a lord and you're a peasant.
Yeah.
And you're going to do this because you just have this ingrained fear in you that I am more powerful somehow. No, that doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And
the standard has also been changed. The standard used to be, accountability, brotherhood, excellence, so on and so forth. And now the standard.
Yeah, the core values of every service have completely, they might as well kiss them goodbye.
I mean, they still have them up on the fucking poster on the wall. But the real core standard is, what do I have to do to maintain my job now and then get my better job in the future, right?
Yeah.
And careerism in the military is, look, it's bad enough in politics with no term limits, but careerism in the military, you can't have anything in the institution that affects its meritocracy when the institution is designed to protect America. right? I mean, that's a non-starter for me. Anybody, like if I'm a general officer and one of my brigade commanders gives me the impression that he's operating from a point of view of trying to advance his own career, I would fire that motherfucker immediately, even if it meant my own job. It would be worth it to take one of those assholes down and set an example and lose my own job. But nobody's willing to lose their own job.
No one's
anymore.
losing.
Not until you're Secretary of Defense.
Could you imagine though? And here's what they didn't think about. Like if one of those Joint Chiefs stood firm and said, you know what? We're not gonna play this COVID vaccine game, and I'm not gonna give that order to my service.
Yeah,
that person would have been martyred for life. They would have had the backing of our entire community, past and present, veteran status. They would have wrote a book. It would have soared to the fucking top of the charts, and we would have carried that person would have been held in the highest regard that we've had in a general officer up to this point. None of them did that. None of them thought like that. None of them even thought of, hey, maybe I should just stand up for what is right, even if it costs me my job, because they would just force retire them. Mm-hmm. But you would go down in history as the one that said, I'm not going to give that order. And you don't think that comes with power and unity and fucking, and it forces the other three's hands, because now your service is looking at everybody at their top going, well, the Marines and the Army guy did it for them.
Yeah.
When are you going to do it? Like, we would have won that. We would have won that social fight had one stood up. But I mean, that's the core principle of leadership in my opinion. And the way I phrase it is, in the absence of leadership, be a leader, right? Like, people are counting on you to stand up. When nobody stands up, whomever stands up is going to be the leader, and it might be a piece of shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, if you don't stand up, that's the whole premise of this show. This idea that you can sit around and wait for your rights to be delivered to you on a silver platter is fucking absolute nonsense. Well, it's because our generation didn't have to fight for anything.
No.
Like,
and to the point of these secretaries of defense as well, other than Hagel, who was a former paratrooper himself, the rest of these dudes are all on the boards of companies or are C-suite companies who profit from places like Qatar and UAE and Saudi Arabia and stuff like that, and Russia even, Ukraine, all these places. So the trajectory for a Secretary of Defense, instead of using the wealth of your knowledge, position, and experience towards the common good, you fucking become a lapdog, and then you convert that into a salary later. That is a piece of shit as a human being, right?
Yeah.
I mean, how could you fucking dare do that? I don't understand that idea. Like, we know in the veteran community, there's a lot of people that are on the grift from time to time, but it's nowhere near as bad as American politics. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, it's not even close. And I mean veterans inside of American politics specifically, whether it be politicians or people that are in bureaucratic positions.
Well, like, you had the beginning of last week, you had one of the generals in the Air Force talk about how, American pride and pride of country and service is not resonating with this new generation for recruiting. So he's like essentially demanding, we need to find a new way because this isn't working. Well, why do you think it's not working? Because you just showed the world, the country, that you're gonna leave your people flat on their face, mm-hmm. and you're willing to let other countries control our politics inside our own military force. You're gonna get rid of your best experienced warfighters when they disagree with a mandate that's coming down. Mm-hmm. So what do you expect? You think all of a sudden an 18-year-old is that excited to get into the military after he just watched this all happen the last 2 years on social media? No, not at all.
No, not at all. And
so there's your fucking science behind it.
I mean, begin with the oath of enlistment in the first place. It's, I will support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic, right? Which means the principle is what we're fighting for. the principle, and if you lose that principle, if the cause isn't just anymore, then the fucking oath of enlistment doesn't mean anything. And what do these people think that foreign and domestic meant? Do they think that domestic meant fighting the citizens of the country? Do you think that's how we wrote the Constitution? Because it doesn't show up like that anywhere else. As a matter of fact, we have the second of the amendments in the Bill of Rights is specifically designed to arm the people against an oppressive government. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, what exactly is the expectation there from leadership? And that's why it's important to have a true north. When we were going through the process of really turning Black Rifle into a company, one of the most important parts of it, one that we went through multiple iterations, but one that Evan was hyper focused on was the mission statement.
Yeah.
Like what, in any environment, no matter who's working at what job or in what situation, what's a fucking sentence I can look back to and know how I should act in this specific situation. Right? And that's what it is. I mean, I don't know what it is now. We deliver coffee and culture to people. Love America, I think, was the last one.
Yeah, that was the last one, but it's been updated since, and it's the first. It's right in our About Us.
What is it now?
I'll pull it up.
Yeah, pull it up. I'd be interested to see what it is. But that's the ethos, right? Like you have to be rooted in principle. You can't have. It is unfortunate, I think, that we have popularity contests to decide who lead our country.
Yeah,
I think that's kind of stupid, to be honest. But it's a result of the voters being lazy too. It's not just the politicians' fault.
I mean, we talked about this recently this week. You're telling me that this is the best we have to offer?
Yeah.
Like, come on.
No, the best we have to offer are out creating businesses and wealth for themselves. They're out doing scientific research. They're out becoming doctors and shit like that.
Black Life for Coffee serves coffee and culture to people who love America.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same as it was since 2018, I think, is when we decided on that one. Yeah. And that's so. If you're an employee at the company, whether it's at the C-suite or middle management or finance or even at one of the stores somewhere, you know exactly what the intent behind every single thing that Black Rifle Coffee does, and that's it, right? So if you have a question like, "Oh, I don't know if we would do this," because you're not going to be able to peer into the minds of Matt, Jared, and Evan and the rest of the team. You just don't know what people are thinking all the time. Like, how would he act in this situation? And look, it's good to have role models and stuff like that. But any good role model would tell you how I would act in this situation is based upon the principles that I believe in. These are the principles we've all agreed upon. And the very first one is I'll support and defend the Constitution against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
Yeah, and that should be every single person's credo inside that organization.
And in this instance, the organization is
But I feel like the organization was rightfully targeted. And here's why.
Which organization?
The DOD.
Oh, yeah, for sure. 100%.
And it was because the Democrats and the left side of the country knew that all of our hired guns and our muscle and our sergeant of arms was made up of people that thought way differently than them.
Right.
So how can they weaken that?
Sure.
Because
it's the same
they
thing to
want
do
power.
Same
this
with police.
Power grab.
It's the same with police. So for authoritarianism to happen, particularly in a large scale in a country like this, you have to have collaborators, right?
Yeah.
The people that sit at the intersections of rights and I guess arrest powers or prosecution or enforcement, you have to control those people. And a good way to get you're not gonna trick people like us into being like agents of the state.
Yeah.
That are out like taking people's guns and shit. That'll never happen. But what you can do is gerrymander the ranks of these institutions, the military and law enforcement, to make sure that you only have
the leadership, weaken the fucking esprit de corps.
You have
get people to leave themselves.
Yeah, you have people self-select because they don't want to be part of a sycophant organization, and that's what's happened.
And what was a very easy and quick swing of the axe to rid the people that think like that out of the organization. And they used the COVID vaccine to do that.
It took 2 years.
Yeah.
This country is almost 250 years old now. It took 2 years. And it's taken a little bit longer with police, but it's a more disparate community because there's local police all over the place. We got about 750,000 in the country, but they're all over the place. but we're seeing it in most major cities. As a matter of fact, I don't know of any major city that has a net gain in police officers.
Wow.
Austin is facing a crisis right now. They have actually, I've got data on this. Let me pull it up right quick. Austin. Boom, boom, boom. Yep. All right. So Austin currently has a they have billeted a total of I think 1,600 police, and right now they have 300 vacancies.
Oh God!
And they're losing about 80 people a month.
Wow!
To retirement or quitting.
That's a bleed.
Yeah. So they have about a 25% deficit right now. So a quarter of the police they need to perform safety and security in that city don't exist and it's not because they fired people. It's because people are leaving. Yeah. Same thing with New York. Same thing with Chicago.
The mayors.
Same thing with LA. Right. And the way that they're handling it right now is the same way that the first stage in which the military starts trying to recruit people whenever they need people, which is to say they lower the standard and then they up the pay, right? So you're getting a shittier product for more money, which is economically speaking not exactly the best. And when you're spending taxpayer money, it's even worse.
Because nobody is ever graded on this and then held the task. That's it.
Yeah.
When was the last time we said we looked in at a mayor and said, "Hey, you screwed this up. You no longer get to be mayor." Like, but then we expect that to be left up to the people. Like, but then you have an entire force inside that mayoral office that is attempting to cover up the actual facts. Of the situation. So they have uninformed people.
The way they do that is they reclassify stats. So instead of an attempted rape being a felony, now they reduce it to a misdemeanor, right?
Because that would take out a whole bunch of
It makes it because they don't count that as violent crime anymore. So violent crime numbers go by. It's called juking the stats, and it happens a lot at these CompStat meetings. But a lot of these issues, I think there's two solutions, and whether or not they'll happen, who knows. But one is Republican federalism, which is to say we're in a republic that has a federalist system of government, and federalism means that power is reduced to the lowest possible level. The federal government has as little possible as is necessary to perform a few tasks, and then all additional power is returned to the state and local legislatures and to the people. We may be beyond that at this point, but I think there might be a strategy of getting it back. My strategy would be to focus really hard on local politics and then start the process of nullification. So here's an example. What county are we in right now? Kendall? Yeah. So Bernie's in Kendall County. We run people here and take over Kendall County politically. And then we start the process of nullification, which means the city or the county stops paying dividends to the state until the state stops paying to the federal government. We require that of them. If they want to come start some shit, you got to be ready for that, right? That's called nullification. And we've seen the result of nullification in two major ways in the past 20 years. One is weed, right? So California, Massachusetts just started selling weed. Fuck you, government. You can't stop us.
Yeah,
right?
Try it.
And good on them. That's exactly how you should have handled
That's how the states are designed to work.
Yep. And then the two same states, and then also New Hampshire and a couple of others, did the same thing with gay marriage, right? They just said, this is not right for you to tell people what to do. It's none of your fucking business. So we're going to allow it. Fuck you. And they were right to do so, and it was very effective. And it can be very effective again and again and again. That's the way our system of government is meant to operate. But it only operates that way if people aren't fucking idiots, right?
Yeah.
And that's why one of the principles that we have is I'll put more into this country than I take out of it. And the implication is that you, and I don't know why this is such a strange foreign thought to people, but you have a duty to improve the situation that you are personally in. If you want, particularly if you want it to be good. If you're a nihilist and you don't give a shit, that's fine. You can do that if you want. But if you want to live in a good world, you have a responsibility to make it good and to keep it good.
Clean. You want your town to be effective. Like
pick up fucking trash, dude.
Be involved in local politics.
And it's again, it harkens back to the premise of the entire show. You can either be a subject or a citizen. Those are your only two choices. You don't get to fucking choose some nebulous middle ground
I'm a sovereign citizen.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
I was getting attacked by a bunch of them on Twitter recently too.
It's like, that's
The
fine.
sovereign citizen crowd.
Guy,
it's the flat earthers.
Go get pull all your money together and go buy an island in the Caribbean. And you can do that if you want. Or go to a county in the United States, take over that county politically, and do what I just said. Then, you know what? Yeah. Fucking do it. And it's not a bad idea to do that. But just to drive around on publicly funded roads and say, well,
I don't have to do what you say.
It's just, that's the way a child thinks. I understand that you think it's not fair that power is being leveraged against you when you had no say in that power, and you're correct to feel that way. But the solution that you're presenting for it is asinine and childish and sophomoric. It's stupid. It doesn't work.
It's the ostrich approach. Let me bury my head.
It's the is-ought fallacy bullshit that we're getting from the woke left. It's like, well, this isn't fair, so it shouldn't be this way. Okay, cool, man. But it is. So
it is that way.
we can do some stuff to level the playing field to some degree. But if you think every outcome in life is going to be fair, there's only one way to achieve that, and that is authoritarianism, right? The only way to really create a quote unquote perfect society is for people to not have choice. And if you're comfortable with that, move to California, move to New York, but leave me
and see how that's going.
Yeah. I mean, people are fleeing these areas
because they're imploding.
Of the 10,
but then you have like, man, I spoke to someone a couple weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago. I was in Salt Lake, and we were in the hotel bar, and this guy lived in San Francisco, and he was like swearing by San Francisco, and I was like, why?
What part of San Francisco does he live in?
I was like, it's trash.
If he lives on like Potrero Hill, he's probably fine.
It's not trash. Like, I could go to the club 7 nights a week, and I'm like, okay, that's what
the club.
That's what. Yeah,
that
was what he
gay?
Equated. No,
there aren't. The clubs in San Francisco are not great, except for in Castro. The gay clubs, they seem to have a good time there.
This was what made San Francisco. Even when I told him, like, I paid more than almost half for my house than he did, and he had less than a quarter of an acre and 3 bedrooms. Like, and he still was defending it. Of no, it's amazing, but he couldn't tell me why. Like, and then refused to even talk about the homeless population. I'll tell you exactly. Like, he started telling me about somebody stole bikes right out of his garage, and I go, "What, do you have a gun?" He was like, "Why would I have a gun?"
So people don't steal bikes out of your garage. So you go
downstairs and you make sure they don't take you. He's like, "They're just bikes, man." Like,
it's my property.
But that's the thought process that's in their heads.
Oh my God!
Like it has been indoctrinated.
Let me solve this for you right quick. So the argument that people like that make, they will say, so you're saying that your property, you're making a judgment that your property is worth more than their life. Like, no, they're deciding that my property is worth more than their life, because the rule is, if you come steal my property, you get dead.
Yeah, but as soon as I started asking, like, well, what if they decided to go upstairs while you guys are there? Mm-hmm. What do you do? He had no answer. No answer.
There are a lot of people, and I don't know if it's just dumb dude machismo or if it's too many movies, but they think in the moment they're going to rise to the occasion and be able to fucking fight people. Like, no, dude, that's not how it works. Do you know why we're good at this stuff? It's because we do it for 1,000 hours. You know what I mean? Before we ever actually get into the actual situation.
I don't even know if it's that. I think they're just around such weak circles that when a bunch of weak people get together and they all justify their weakness, it gives you a false sense of security. Like, I mean, we see that in the incel world, in the world of all these clowns that, you know, claim to be more patriotic because they didn't join the military, because they weren't a servant to Israel. Like, no, what happened is they all just got together and they all started sucking their own dicks.
Yeah.
And then they all used their own excuses to make themselves feel better. And now they feel powerful because there's a group of them that all have the same excuse. No, you have an excuse, dude. Like,
women they don't respect real men anymore. Like, oh yeah, they do. As a matter of fact, when World War III starts, feminism will be gone entirely.
Yeah.
Feminism will not exist in Western society once World War III begins. You know why? because women aren't going to be lining up to join the fucking army. No. They're not going to be lining up to fucking.
I don't think our own will line up to join.
I'm talking specifically about our own.
Yeah.
Women in America who are feminists
talking
right now.
about our own men won't be lining up to join. They're what? World War III? No, that's not for me. I've got a Twitch account.
Yeah. I've got flat feet.
I guarantee you,
asthma.
like you're gonna see the great, like the whole.
It's gonna be fun.
No, I'm a Twitch streamer. Like I already have a job. No, you're being drafted.
It'll be interesting to see what the deferments for military service are in this day and age.
They just have to get rid of them.
It's going to be like
get rid of all of
long
them.
COVID. I've got long COVID.
I've got long COVID.
Which is not, that's not a thing. Come on, man. It's, people, I saw something funny the other day. There are people trying to sue the federal government right now because they want to file for permanent disability from long COVID.
Yeah, because we bred that into them. It's because they're having to go back to work.
We've made a generation of takers, and I don't just mean things like welfare, food assistance, or unemployment. I mean takers, generally speaking, people who, like our military commanders, are more concerned about their personal outcome than the outcome of the group. So in a good society, in a great society, the government or institutions or the society itself promotes the individual liberty, the liberty of the individual, and the individual promotes the success of the group, right? That is the what people refer to as a social contract. There is no social contract because I didn't get a fucking thing to sign. I didn't agree to any of this shit. I'm just saying the concept of the social contract in Western society, particularly in American society, is that the systems of power will respect the rights of the individual, and the individual will use its rights to promote the success of the group. Everybody, right? Freedom and liberty only exist if they exist for everybody. It's a core concept for America. And instead, what we have is a system of government and institutional power that promotes group success and group rights over the individual. And then we have individuals who only care about themselves. Yeah. We're doing everything wrong that we could possibly do wrong. So when I say that, the point is, it's not just the government. It's not just the politicians. It is all of us.
Yeah.
It's all of us doing the same thing, right? We're all making the same mistake in one way or one direction or another, which sounds harrowing. It sounds demoralizing. It sounds depressing and hopeless. But the reality is we created this problem and we can solve it. You know what I mean? You can solve this problem. If you're concerned about the government intruding into your fucking community, find the problems they're solving there and go solve them yourself. You know what I mean? If the government's spending too much money and wasting taxpayer money cleaning up the streets or something like that, go fucking clean them up yourself and tell them to get fucked. You know what I mean? That's a kind of a specific example, but there's a lot of ways to do this. If you're worried about welfare spending, like I said before, all of these rich dum-dums in corporate America, in finance, with BLM and shit in their bios and in their fucking doing diversity training at work, that go help people start businesses. Yeah. Give them the tools to get
jobs,
themselves.
Give them fucking purpose.
Teach a man to fish, man, is a core concept of Western society and has been for 3,000 goddamn years now. You empower the individual, and the individual will make society better. That is the whole point. And what kind of building do you upgrade the roof first? You know what I mean? Like if your house was in disarray right now, if your like shingles were falling off, the fucking support beams were rotting out, and then the roof is all rusty, which one do you fix first?
No, the foundation.
Yeah. Right. You don't fix the fucking roof. You don't direct energy and attention to the roof first. We don't do top down shit because it doesn't make sense. There's gravity to society. Everything fucking flows upward, but all the pressure goes down. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't make sense that we do it this way. But again, the good news is that you can solve these problems. Not all of them and not right now. You can't solve hunger, right? Yeah. But if you see a hungry person, you could solve that motherfucker's hunger right now. Right?
Yes.
And how many people does it take when we have a poverty rate of 19%? It takes about 19% of the community to then engage with that impoverished community and improve that situation. We can't even marshal 20% of our people to do the right thing. and then we sit around and bitch and complain about how bad our lives are.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It doesn't make any sense.
No.
But I understand it in concept. People feel hopeless because they don't know what to do. And it's because we don't have any leadership in this country anymore.
No, there's none.
The people that used to step into public service and business as leaders now are just in it for themselves. And this is just the natural flow of that, right? It's societal decay. It's how it happens.
Well, we'll see. I
Yeah.
mean, we're either on, the last few years of the 4th or 6th century where Rome was done.
Yeah.
And then they went backwards in time for about 1,400 years.
Yeah, I mean, it does kind of feel like we're getting back into some form of feudalism, doesn't it? Where there's going to be a couple of powerful people per region
Yeah.
that control things, and then everybody that
Well, and we're a button
everybody
away
has to
from
work for them.
going backwards.
Maybe it's not the worst thing to go backwards a little bit.
Maybe
You know what
that's
I mean?
the cycle.
Yeah, it
Like,
could
who
be.
knows?
We'll see.
We are 180-year blip on a fucking timeline that, is about 2 billion years long, 2 billion years long. Who cares?
It is. It is. I mean, the salute. You do two things, and it's good advice in any situation. You hope for the best and prepare for the worst, right? You hope
Yeah.
for the best by doing the right thing and helping other people lift themselves up and fighting back against tyranny. And you prepare for the worst by making sure that you can survive if all of this falls apart.
Yeah.
Learn to farm, bitch. Learn to plant seeds. Learn to fucking slaughter animals. Learn to find clean drinking water. Just go to SEER school.
Yeah.
We just got to put all of America through SEER school, and then we'll be good. All right. Well, this has been good. It's been a while since, or I've been meaning to have you on for a while. It's good we had the opportunity to do this. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the audience before we get out of here?
This is great. Be a citizen.
And drink Black Rifle coffee as well.
Heck yeah.
I drank a shitload of it this morning. And thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. This has been Citizen.